Welcome back to Movie Recap. Today I'm going to explain the film called CJ7, released in 2008. Spoilers ahead, watch out and stay safe. The movie starts with a young boy named Dickie journeying to the atmosphere of dreams in a private school with his shoes covered in dirt and face full of mess. The male teacher Mr. Cow interrupts his way for being nudity. Fortunately, the beautiful teacher named Miss Yoon decides to take over and sincerely talks to Dickie. The innocent young boy suddenly explains that no one can guide him since he has no mother and that his father works in construction. Miss Yoon then gently bends to wipe the young boy's face with her handkerchief to signal him to class. A few moments later, the class begins with a simple task about their aspirations. The pupils proudly declare their ambitions, such as artists and entrepreneurs, one by one. When it's Dickie's time to pronounce his endeavor, everyone laughs together, with the teacher presenting a disappointed look. He further explains that being poor is what he desires, that integrity and respect matter even when you have nothing. Time passes. Mr. Cow abruptly drops his pen, which Dickie intentionally picks up for him. However, Mr. Cow disregards the act of kindness, pushing him away and disgustingly getting the ballpoint pen by himself. Meanwhile, Dickie's father T untiringly works as a construction worker. The sun's heat becomes a friend while eating at the top of the building. When recess time arrives, the bully pupil named Johnny brags this expensive robot named CJ1 to the rest of his classmates. Johnny pushes Dickie away from the crowd, teases the short pupil, and mocks the gigantic girl Maggie. Surprisingly, Dickie stops the bullies and defends Maggie, eventually forming a real friendship. While the struggle is real on the construction site, the boss notices T having a hard time doing the job. The boss pushes him to leave, but T insists on continuing for a new fan for his son. With only an electric fan as a gift, Dickie still celebrates the darkest night, as he will indeed have a good night's sleep. But luck isn't on their side, as the said electric fan is defective. T then tells Dickie to follow his pursuits and that kindness should arise in the middle of nothingness. As they live the life of meagerness, Dickie and T choose to paint a smile. Catching and killing those cockroaches in their tiny house becomes a hobby, and the bond gets tighter each night. One sunny day, Dickie and T watch television when a piece of news emerges about an unidentified flying object. Shortly after, Dickie expresses his desire to have the expensive CJ1 toy. Such luxuries are beyond their means, which leads T to strike his son in the mall. Disappointed, Dickie cries and walks away from the mall because his wants are unfulfilled. Moments later, Miss Yoon allows Dickie to understand and obey his father. In the middle of the night, T unknowingly searches for valuable things in a trail of discarded appliances. After several seconds, an object floats, signifying a mysterious phenomenon. He then sees a television that surprisingly turns on with the other devices. Little does he know that a UFO starts to fly, leaving him a remembrance he can give to his son. Upon arriving, T immediately offers the toy, but Dickie refuses due to the embarrassment he had experienced in the mall. But after a few seconds, Dickie begins lurking around, only to see an unfamiliar green ball. The next morning, Dickie excitedly shares his mysterious toy with his friend Fanny. Afterward, the bullies led by John once again intervene and check his belongings. When Dickie attempts to fight for himself from the humiliation, Johnny blows his whistles to call his gigantic male classmate Storm Dragon, who is his follower. Knowing that he is no match for that gigantic boy, he decides to smile and attempts to shake hands awkwardly, but Storm Dragon holds his hand, throwing him with utmost strength helplessly. Consequently, scolds Dickie after seeing the bruise on his face and the rip on his school uniform. T warns him once more not to engage in any trouble despite having nothing. When T asks Dickie about the cause of the problem, he only stares at his fantastic toy, which shows mysterious evolution. When the toy begins transforming into something, Dickie thinks of it as a ghost in the darkest shadow of the night, leading him to scream and shout. Irritated by the deafening noise, T locks Dickie until he keeps his mouth shut. Only the glowing environment surrounds him inside the cabinet until a magical transformation occurs. His toy suddenly showcases a slant of light, bringing him into an outer space scenario. He then sees the toy shifting into a cute, fuzzy-faced, big-eyed creature. Time passes. T decides to free him from the cabinet. Dickie promises to remain silent and behave while his father goes to work with no one else except the alien creature. He begins to examine and ask questions about the said creature. He then assumes that the toy he got is an alien dog from the other universe, which he eventually named CJ7. The corners of the house get filled with momentous rhythms as the two dance. Dickie also notices a rotten apple becomes a freshly picked fruit, allowing him to think that CJ7 possesses magical power. One day Dickie is ready to go to school with CJ7 as his partner. They encounter a wild aggressive dog that wants to attack them. To his surprise, CJ7 shows off an impeccable skill after beating the dog with a kung fu skill. Considering his alien pet with such extraordinary powers, he victoriously walks and is ready to face everyone with such confidence. Prior to the examination time, Dickie goes to the bathroom convincing CJ7 to do incredible magic for his exams. Without any delay, CJ7 prepares and assembles a device that can help Dickie to answer the exam through sunglasses. During the test proper, Dickie's sunglasses secretly perform a trick by releasing a mosquito that works like a lens or camera. The roaming mosquito devices allow Dickie to show his classmates answers. The next day a fulfilling result awaits. After getting a perfect exam for the first time, doubtful Mr. Cow checks his glasses, which burns his face. Upon checking when physical education arrives, Dickie wishes for another magic from CJ7, a super sneakers. As the teacher discusses the high jump method, Dickie jumps as high as he can. He also unnaturally breaks the treadmill for having such incomparable strength. He even swims with unbelievable speed and fights his PE teacher for his power while others try to catch him. His strength brings him to the highest sky, implying a force from CJ7. However, everything becomes a dream when Dickie opens his eyes from a deep sleep. He immediately looks for CJ7. If his dreams during that night can be possible, without any hesitations, he excitedly prepares and rushes to school. Like his dream, Dickie and CJ7 encounter such a wild dog on their way to school, but the very opposite happens as CJ7 cannot defend and make any supernatural abilities, leading the two served with bruises and wounds in their bodies. Before the examination, Dickie wishes for other supernatural abilities from CJ7 just like what he saw in his dream. However, the unexpected transpires when CJ7 gives him a poop which does not give him any answers or devices to perfect the test. Disappointed as he is, he tries to punish and drown CJ7 in the comfort room for failing the exam. Not long after, before the PE class, he asks for the same sneaker he saw in the dream, but the pattern continues. CJ7 pours lots of poops instead, which embarrasses Dickie in the middle of the class. When it's time to go home, he finally decides to throw the alien dog CJ7 in the trash for failing him, but after a few steps away from the trash, he suddenly realizes that CJ7 never promised anything, that everything was his fault from his expectations. Thus he tries to run to get CJ7 back, but the trash collector is so fast, leaving him in tears. Later, Dickie expresses his total disappointment to his father but gets quickly eliminated when he sees CJ7 again. The two hug each other from the short period of separation. On the other hand, T wonders where the toy came from and how CJ7 works. He squeezes the alien dog to test and randomly checks any batteries of why such a creature works like that. In the middle of Dickie and T's uncomfortable sleep, CJ7 notices that Dickie appears to unease while resting due to the hot atmosphere. The real magic from CJ7 finally occurs when the alien creature releases magnetic and electric force to a malfunctioning electric fan. In just a few seconds, the electric fan starts to work. Meanwhile, CJ7 gets exhausted after releasing a lot of energy in fixing the defective device. Early in the morning, T entirely questions why the electric fan seems to function now. As this happens, Dickie, together with CJ7, hurriedly goes to school and starts their journey. Meanwhile, on their way, a group of bullies led by John crosses Dickie's way. Again, the bullies seem interested in CJ7, wherein they try their best to catch the alien creature. When John finally grabs 41 CJ7, they inspect the said creature with 43 their tools, but are unsuccessful. As a form of friendship, he doesn't want CJ7 to get ruined or destroyed, so he tries to fight and stop John, but John's follower Storm Dragon appears again. All of a sudden, Dickie's friend Maggie comes to the rescue. The two giant pupils fight over each other, but the girl wins 0-1, assuring that Dickie is just fine. When Mr. Cow notices the commotion, everyone gets 0-6 punished, including the bullies, as they stand in the ground under the sky. CJ7 shows up and goes to his master Dickie. The bullies become interested in the abilities of a little alien to imitate human reactions. With all the things happening, a new bond of peace starts to form and the essence of friendship prevails simultaneously. T proudly announces to all of his co-workers that his son got a perfect score. However, the boss never believes and assumes that Dickie alters 0 to get 100 score. T doesn't want to believe what the boss stated. The two almost fight where T gets fired from the job, but after a few realizations T decided to speak to Dickie with regards to his failed exams. Next he confronts Dickie to tell the truth of not passing and getting a perfect score. As a father he instills once again the value of honesty and the significance of education in exiting their current misery. Later Dickie admits that he intentionally changed the grade as he does not want to disappoint his father. As a result he punishes his son by getting CJ7. With a stubborn young mind Dickie unawarely states that he wants his father out of his life permanently. Disgusted T states that he feels the same way and will leave his way if he ever gets above 60 on the next exam. The two agreed to a deal brought by their intense emotions. The heart of being a father still stands out when T fulfills his responsibility for Dickie. He brings lunch to his son where he meets Miss Ewan. The beautiful teacher tells her that she will be more than happy to help Dickie pass the exam and will let the boy understand the chaos arising. Thus he expresses his gratitude for the teacher's concern and purity for his son. After a few moments T comes back to work and attempts to speak with the boss. Unexpectedly the boss apologizes for what he said and still believes that the young boy will be successful in the future. T on the other hand becomes hopeful to continue his job to make a living for a son. As this happens Dickie tries his best passing the exam, allowing him to get a 65. A terrifying event begins to arise when T encounters a life and death situation. During his work the gas tank suddenly falls from the highest peak of the building, pulling T down to his death with no clues as to what's happening. Dickie just stares at the hospital while the authorities cry for tragic news. Miss Ewan then shares the terrible news of T's death to Dickie. Completely damaged, he doesn't want to believe his teacher, crying for the demise of his father while the death is assumed already for the accident. CJ7 frees itself from the bag, ready to unleash its magnetic force to heal the lifeless state. One sunny day Dickie wakes up with his father beside him. Full of regret he embraces his father, telling he will give importance to their relationship. Meanwhile CJ7 appears to be exhausted from all the forces he performed to save someone. After a few seconds CJ7 loses its function and operation. T and Dickie attempt several alternatives to bring back CJ7. Dickie remains hopeful that someday CJ7 will move again and that their bond will resume at the end of the class term. Peace finally floats in the ambience of the school. Storm Dragon expresses his desire for Maggie and Johnny wants Fanny. Even T conveys his admiration to Miss Ewan. Meanwhile Dickie remains his hope that someday he will hear again the cute sound and gesture of his little friend CJ7, until one moment he witnesses a spaceship while staring at the highest sky. His toy CJ7 suddenly blinks as if it's going to work again. To his surprise the same little creature appears to be followed by hundreds of it, known as CJ7. Indeed, the movie ends with a lot of CJ7 invading the Earth for playful camaraderie. Subscribe for more videos like this and don't forget to turn on the notification bell icon, and lastly leave a like as it will really help the channel out. Thanks for watching.